thank you for everybody who showed up today. And we would like to thank Melinda Dawes. Special thank you to you. We are Social Impact Consulting. My name is Tiffany. This is my co-associate Shane and my co-associate Sarah. We're here to talk to you today about something that is honestly near and dear to my heart, and I may seem a bit emotional because this is something, what your organization does enriches the world. I have a little brother who's turning 15 and he has autism. Now, if you knew me, you would know that if there was one person in my life who shaped who I am, it would be that little man. It would be the boy who grew up, gave me endless love. It's just, when you love unconditionally, when you have such a big heart, it is so hard not to impact those around you. And these are the people that your organization deal with on a daily basis. So we are inspired by you, and you must be inspired as well. So today we are going to go into what is cognitive interactive. You guys, your organization is a great organization. Not only does Cognitive Impact, or CI, look to empower those with autism, it also looks to serve the software industry with valuable, with creative, and with warming employees. When you look at people with disabilities, you look at them and you think, man, they have such big hearts, but what you don't see is the intelligence. What you don't see is the creativity. And places like CI bring this out. I am so honored to be here today. And I would just like to thank you for what you bring to the community, and I would like to thank you for the opportunities you provide. Today we're going to talk about cognitive impact. I had touched on this a little bit, but what does it do? Cognitive impact, the program looks to develop those with autism, to help them develop professionally, help them develop socially, help them get out there, get a job, be independent, which is so valuable to these types of people. It also looks to employ these people with safe working environments that make for an autism-friendly future. I mean, organizations like CI, they're wonderful. They are essential to society because of the assets that they bring. We will start off today with an analysis of CI. We will go into deeper and see what they do well, what they look to do, and what are the results? What are the results with proper implementation that they will achieve? After that, we're going to look at what are the strategic options? What are the things that we will be bringing them today? We have analyzed these strategic options, and we will ultimately provide the best recommendation. The recommendation that will help you achieve excellence. Following that, we will provide an implementation, and then we will wrap it up with a contingency plan. So when we looked at CI, we thought there was copious amounts of strengths in this organization. And it was hard to narrow it down to a few, but the ones we have narrowed it down to be the core to the organization is that unique approach. That unique approach to serving communities and serving people in our communities who may not have had the options before. As well, they have built valuable connections within the community. They've built connections with the school. They've built connections with software companies. This is key. You need to get the key players involved. And CI, you've done that so well that we applaud you for that. CI also has opportunities. They have the opportunity to take those connections and make them into something so much bigger, to strengthen and to grow your social impact. And as well, in the environment today, we are seeing an ever-increasing trend in individuals who are being diagnosed with autism. Programs like this are becoming key to society, and this is something that you have the opportunity to utilize, and you have the opportunity to grow with this trend. They also have some aspirations. noble aspirations, great aspirations, aspirations that inspire us, aspirations to be in 5% of the market share. That is about 12,500 individuals with autism. Now, if you think about my little brother, Chase, that's one individual. He means the world to me. Could you imagine working with an organization that reaches 12,500 individuals with autism? That is a social impact, not just on the individuals, but on their families. Also, by the end of today, we will have results. We will have shown you how to best implement the recommendation to achieve results. Those results being the 10 cities by 2018. This is a huge goal, and we are very excited to say that it's reachable, and we are confident that it's reachable. And as well, Melinda would like to pay herself a salary, which of that $60,000 for revenues, and we believe this is key. You can never go wrong investing in people. That is the one piece of business advice that I have received, and it is core, and it is true, and it is one I will always carry with me. We looked into the stakeholders. Who are the stakeholders involved with CI? Obviously, as I have touched on, the autistic person. You are not just helping them gain these social skills. You're not helping them develop games. You are providing them with independence. You are providing them with skills. You are providing them with a reason. And that is something that is so core. You are not overlooking them. Also, you do have the stakeholder of Melinda, CEO. We are so grateful for what you have done, and we think that you need to be a key player in this, and we need to keep you involved, and we need to compensate you for the great work you do. And we would love to help you reach your goals. We also have the families. People like myself, these are key players. Not only is having a child with a disability, not only is it financially a burden, but sometimes it can be an emotional burden. That burden is worth it, but it's hard. And you can ask parents with kids with disabilities, it is hard. So places and organizations like CI are vital, and we will help them get what they would like. As well, the software industry. I recently read a book about Twin Cities Rise, this organization that helps disadvantaged people become employed. And one of the key things was know the business you are in. Who are you serving? And in that, it would be the software industries. Not only are you serving the people with disabilities, you are providing this valuable human resource to the software industry. You are helping them grow. You are helping them utilize this group of human resources. As well, the government. When you employ somebody with a disability, the money they make is less of a financial burden on the government, and this is something you could leverage against, but this is something that we need to keep in mind. And as well, we do have the community as a whole. As I have said, it's a community. One person impacts the whole community, and that is vital in why CI is such an amazing organization and why we are so excited. Moving forwards, we're going to talk about what are some of the decisions that CI has coming up. You're looking to grow, and we would love to be part of that journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Tiffany. So now that we've analyzed the internal and external factors affecting your organization, I'd like to go over the key issue or decisions that you face. After that, I'll go over some of the two strategic options, and then we'll talk about the recommendation for you. So the key issue or the primary decision you face is whether you should move forward as a not-for-profit or a social enterprise. And the secondary decision is what strategy you should take once you choose to move forward with either becoming a not-for-profit or social enterprise. This strategy includes what programs you want to offer, to how much of the clientele, how are you going to differentiate yourself from the competitors, those not-for-profits looking for similar sources of funding. So I'm going to talk about the first strategic option, which is becoming a social enterprise. I'm going to talk about the pros and cons of each. So some of the pros of becoming a social enterprise is you have greater control over the programs that you are able to offer and the types of programs, because you do not have to satisfy the needs of those funders. As well, you'd be able to get that profit and social profit aspect when you becoming a social enterprise. You'd also be able to get subsidies even though you're not a not-for-profit, which is another benefit. Some of the cons are you'd have to offer higher prices, which makes it less affordable to your #1 stakeholder, which are those clients, those kids and children with autism. As well, you'd have a smaller reach over the population because you'd be offering less programs and only be offering the intermediate and advanced programs. So some of the pros for becoming a not-for-profit is the affordability. You'd be able to offer cheaper programs to those kids and teenagers that really need it. As well, you'd be able to leverage your not-for-profit status in the communities. So people are more willing to donate to not-for-profits instead of social enterprises. You could also leverage the ability for tax reasons to gain, to give out tax receipts and for other tax reasons. You'd also be able to cover a larger reach and offer a lot more programming to the clientele. But some of the cons are the higher prices and the smaller and a smaller reach. So I'm going to go over our decision matrix. I'm going to go over the different criteria and how we came up with the recommendation we did for you. So the first criteria is social impact. So this is the most important criteria, and that's why we weighted it a little bit higher. So this is the impact, the amount of people clientele you're going to be able to reach, and the amount of programs you're going to be able to offer. And we believe becoming a not-for-profit will allow you to do this a lot more efficiently. As well, the next criteria is community connection. So which one of these options allows you to create the biggest connection to the community, to gain fundraising from individuals, from corporations, and to use your not-for-profit status. And that's why we weighted that one a little bit higher, or gave that one a higher score to become a not-for-profit. As well, the next criteria is the ability to attract funds, which kind of relates to the last one, which becoming a not-for-profit, you'll have the ability to gain more donations from individuals. And the last one is financial security. This not-for-profit is a little bit lower on this one, and that's just because if you're a social enterprise, you'd be able to receive funds because you charge more, and it's based on per client. You're not relying on government funds and funds from donations, which isn't as secure, financially secure. But overall, we believe that moving forward as a not-for-profit is the beneficial option for you. So I'd like to go a little bit deeper into our recommendation, and it is to expand as a not-for-profit utilizing strategic partnerships. So in the first year, we suggest you stay in the city you're currently operating in, and you offer 40 programs to the clientele, and you hire 4 part-time staff. So each program, we believe you can get 3 volunteers and 2 hired staff to run each program. Then we suggest in year 2, you offer 85 programs in the same city you are operating in. Then you'll have the 8 part-time staff to run these programs with the volunteers. It is until the 3rd year that we suggest you expand into 3 new cities, and in each of those cities you have a regional director to operate and control in those cities and create connections in those cities. Connections to technology companies and where you can utilize them as volunteers. So these technology companies are the ones that created your programs, and then with this they can either become volunteers or teach the staff and the volunteers how to use these programs. So these partnerships are really important to focus on. And as well, with our recommendation, we suggest you go forward with that permanent location in your city that you're operating in, because it's important to have a location where you can train your employees and your staff, and you can also use it for meetings to find new clientele and autistic kids for your programs. So now we'd like to go a little bit into we're going to go into our implementation plan, and we're going to go over some financials to really solidify this recommendation.
Thank you, Shane. So before moving any further, we just wanted to take this time to emphasize that your mission is absolutely core to everything we are recommending. What you do is such a benefit to individuals with autism, their families, and society. And that is why you have this opportunity to expand and move forward. Often as consultants, we only get to speak to organizations in emergency situations. So it is an honor for us today because since you have been true to your mission and you do your mission well, you are able to leverage your status as a not-for-profit, make connections so that you can expand effectively and continue serving the people that you do. But how are you going to do this? Because as good as a good idea is, in order to achieve excellence, you must implement effectively. So the first thing you must do is hire a grant writer. Because to be honest, you don't have to differentiate yourselves by doing anything differently. Already the programming that you have is very unique and an asset to society. But you have to communicate that. And that will be through a grant writer. Then you will rent a location. So since there is going to be such reliance on volunteers, it is essential that you have a permanent location that you are able to train people and get the message across and recruit. Following that, you will become members of a volunteer center, and this will allow you to recruit volunteers and also will help you mitigate some of the fees, lower some fees such as the criminal record check. So it's important just to network in that way. Then it is very important to make stronger connections with the software industry. So you already have great relationships with the software companies. They come, they sit in, they test the games, and you provide value to them. And so that is why that should be your #1 focus in looking to them for volunteers, looking to them for extra funds, even maybe potential space rentals. Use what you have and look to them. Then you will hire a volunteer coordinator for each specific city. You will connect with families. And so in order to connect with new clients, it's important to get involved online with autism support groups or different clubs and just really utilize that. Also, it's very common for people to do 4 of these programs per year. So even though there's 600 clients per year for your year 1 goal, they don't have to be separate clients. So when someone goes through the program, it's important you follow up with that relationship and you have your administrative staff follow up and call them. Then you will hire 3 regional directors at the end of 2 years, and then they will job shadow you for a month, and then you will expand into those new regions, 3 cities at a time. So how much do you actually need? So right now you're not actually making money from your fees. You're still losing money in your programming, but that's perfectly good because this is about the people and it should be affordable. And so in the first year, you'll need $731,000, and in the final 5th year, you'll need $12 million. This seems like a lot, but because of, keep in mind this is 10 different cities, and then also you have community connections with the government, with corporations, and with individuals. So it's important to track your progress along. So 50% of your funds should come from grants, 30% from corporations, and 20% from individuals. You should have a goal of 600 clients in year 1, 1,250 in year 2, and then your 5% market share in the final 5th year. So now we will speak on contingencies, and if there are things that don't go as expected, how are you going to address these things?
Thank you, Sarah. It would be naive to say that there's not any risks. To expand, to make any sort of change, there are risks involved. What if you don't get that 50% of your funding from grants? Those who work in the nonprofit sector know how volatile government funding and funding can be to an organization. If this is the key and you do not reach that 50% mark, it is essential to look into your corporate donations and your individual giving campaigns, reevaluate them, and reevaluate your connections with the government. As well, what if you don't have that program participation rate? Well, this is where you need to connect better. This is where you need to reach those families and make known how vital an organization like CI is to the community. Not just for those in the software industry, not just for the parents, not just for the kids, but for the community as a whole. It takes a village to raise the child.
How viable is it to get 50% grant funding for this model?
That's a great question. And with such a unique structure and such a unique mission, we believe that through differentiating yourself by making that uniqueness known and making how vital you are to society and to the government known and how much money you will save them, 50% we believe is a viable number. That being said, if that number is not reached, we do have that contingency plan to fall back on.
When would you suggest that I start hiring people to kind of help me out with this strategy that you've suggested?
That's a great question. So initially, you already have your 2 administrative people.
Yeah.
You will keep those people on. You will hire 4 instructors. So right now you have 2, and then you will hire 2 more. And then right away, you will hire that volunteer coordinator, as said on the implementation plan. And then after 2 years, that's when you will start expanding into different cities and start hiring on the regional directors and the subsequent volunteer coordinators.
Okay, so just a second part to that question.
Sure.
Then the 146,000 in salaries in year 1, that's for, does some of that include me?
Yes, so the program staff salaries are included in that program expense. So we've included the location,
Okay.
the staff salary, and so in that line, it's simply your salary and then your part-time administrative salaries.
I had a good sense that you knew the industry and you understood the relationship between the client, the family, and the work that I'm trying to do. You really spoke to the software industry playing a role. Don't you think they should have more in the game than grants and others?
Well, we suggest you create those partnerships with them and try to work with those software companies to gain them as volunteers, and as well to teach your employees how to utilize those programs to teach like the instructors on how to utilize them for the clients.
And just to add to that, these are organizations, these are companies that are looking to hire people who come out of your programs, who do succeed. So they do have a huge stake in the organization, and to capitalize on that would be beneficial to you.
What is the confidence level you would put to achieving 12,500 people by year 5 you propose to us?
Well, I believe that you could 100% do it. Now, that being said, there is a little bit of risk involved, but with the proper implementation of the implementation plan and your awareness of the industry and your passion, 100%.
Do you have a feel of the IT market to be able to employ, can they, if we get 600 people through in year 1, how many of them is there a market to be able to be employed within their own communities?
Yes, and that's a great reason why you are expanding, because you're right, there are only a certain amount of IT organizations per city. So as you expand, you'll be able to tap into whole new organizations that you would be unable to expand into if you stayed in one location. That is why we really are strong in the fact that you should aggressively expand to 10 different cities so that you can make connections with different amounts of people. And then in the future, even explore how will that look like. Is it always going to look like the same job, or what are the opportunities to continue with that same stream of thought, but not necessarily video game design?
Thank you.